Hello, this is Nicholas Webb. I'm talking about the, well, I guess I'm going to say big, big surprise. Microsoft's trying to screw you. And, I'm doing this kind of as a way to say howdy to, what's his name? Alpha Mega Sim has been asking people to, do videos about this, and he wants to hear people's takes. I've never trusted Microsoft, and I'm going to explain why very simply. They've kind of gotten into a niche in the market. I think it's a very good possibility that every virus that's ever been put out, or a good portion of them, were put out mainly just because Microsoft asked them to be on their system. Heck, probably even gave them the kind of codes to really mess with it. Because here's the thing. They make viruses. Then the secondary market of fixing things, they can charge through the wazoo. This is what computers have been under Microsoft for years. And it's just been that way. So the stuff with the Xbox One, selling your personal information and whatnot, I'm not surprised at all. I'm completely not surprised, actually. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh my god, how can they do this? And how can you defend this? Well, it was a business concept. Make a product that needs to be fixed. And if you're the only one that's able to fix it, you've created a market. And if anyone's smart, they're going to say, no, we're not going to buy into your product. That's one of the things. If you go and you buy things, like the concept of the Windows Phone, those ads piss me off. You know why? Because guess what? I have messed with a PC on enough occasion. The idea of it having a small version in my pocket terrifies me. And it's the thing is, shoddily put together. Every time I mess with Windows 8, like their interface with the OS is just, their OS interface with the touchscreen is atrocious. And yeah, okay, they made a little PC. And when Apple makes a specialized program, a specialized OS for people, yeah, I get how that can kind of get the people annoyed. And oh yeah, they don't put, Apple hasn't done this, this, and this. But they've also made it where they're protecting what goes on their system. And they can do that on the iOS. They don't do it on the Apple like they do on the iOS. But it's basically, they're trying to control it to make sure that, it's in good shape. You get the quality. So, that's just a quick comparison. And the Xbox One, I think, is probably is a system I really think is going to be unusable unless you get a hacker to crack that thing. Crack it wide open, take out all their crappy visual, all their crappy programming, all the stuff they're throwing in there to, take care of your, whatever. And it won't be playable. It's not something you can keep in your house. Hell, not a single military or government official should get an Xbox One. Ever. Do you know why? Think about it. It is programmed to read your facial expressions and whatnot. If that kind of programming is used wrong, they can have it listening on conversations about anything. Like, this is government security. This is, they could go, oh hey, there's a terrorist threat. Yeah, that could be useful in that manner, but that's not how that's going to be used. If anything, there's probably going to be some rich person's going to go, hey, I need to go look for someone I'll go talk to Microsoft and see if they're using the Xbox One. And, you know, they could even make it where it's automated, where you just pay for keywords. You know, this could be a, you know, undernet type business that Microsoft could start running. So they can get an Xbox One, because what it's going to do is it's always on, it's always watching. Which means they could send a little update to every Xbox in the world. And the update will say stuff like, listen for this word. And then, but always record like 2 or 3 minutes. And if in the recording you hear this word, go back 2 minutes or so and keep recording. Like how police have their the videos in their cars. They have a little button on there. If there's a situation, they press a button, and it takes basically 5 minutes. It's always recording 5 minutes, but it kind of purges it after a while. But if there's an incident, the officer presses a button, and that data gets saved. The Xbox One could probably implement something like that, and you know, it could be used for corporate espionage or whatnot. It could be used to, you know, the mob could, you know, put out some information, you know, get it out there, get someone to put that person's likeness into the Xbox system, and if they show up at a friend's house who happens to have an Xbox One, the information gets sent to the mobs going, hey, we found your dude. There's just thousands of implications this system can have. Not just that little fact of advertisement, which is creepy enough, but you know, this could also be used as forms of blackmail. You know, hey, we know you look at porn, so you know, someone gets a hold of this and they find out, oh, we can go check out who's yanking it, and we can go and find out who they are, and then threaten to send a tape of this to their parents or something, or the girlfriend of them yanking it. And that's another money maker. And I don't know, a lot of people have been Steve Jobs a lot, not Steve Jobs, sorry, what's his name, the guy they're trying to force out right now at Microsoft, Bill Gates, a lot of credit and stuff. I kind of like, I don't know about that. You know, he's you know, oversaw the creation of the system that it was been in place for years, where you have, like, you know, Microsoft has a decent OS. Every other system that is not an accident. There's no way that's an accident. And I know plenty of people are like, well, you know, every once in a while you make a mistake. No, you're pretty consistent. Like, I'm going to look at the OSs for Apple. I really haven't heard any bad things. We've just been really nervous about, you know, catching up and building up the OS for our system. You know, like, I'm nervous about even updating to the new OS, because I'm not sure what I'm going to lose, because I kind of like some of the old stuff. But that's, I guess, not that big of a deal in a lot of ways. Still, when we're dealing with, you know, the system, Apple, I'm going to do it eventually. I really will. My excuse right now is the instability of my life right now due to criminal activity, but I'll get into that later. Not my criminal activity, of course. It's, you know, just, you gotta watch yourselves when, you gotta be quick draw with a lawyer in today's world, and in today's housing market. You know, but anyway, Microsoft has been doing this kind of thing where they're finding ways to get it. I'm pretty sure they probably encourage virus creation, because guess what? Virus removal is a big business. they created a billion-dollar business by having not protecting their system properly. Think about that. By not doing their job completely, they've actually created more business, a new business type, a new industry. And that industry is built on simply really cruddy stuff. And that's why it's such a big business, is because people are using it all the time. Because they're made to by the creator of the program, Microsoft. And that is why when all this stuff about Microsoft doing weird stuff with the Xbox, I'm not surprised. I mean, they created all kinds of stuff. I mean, I heard early versions, beta versions of Vista, quite arguably one of the biggest steaming piles of donkey doo ever put out by Microsoft. I heard that from someone had basically got an early version of Vista, and I think it was solid as a rock. I mean, it was apparently like a great OS. It's like no problems. I don't have nothing's crashing. It handles all these things really well. That's kind of cool. I can't wait for the real version to come out, kind of feeling. And when the real version comes out, it was what it was. And people probably were like, well, how did that happen? Easy. Microsoft knows that if they put out a good system, a good OS, it doesn't make as much money for the secondary markets that exist. A market they basically created by going, well, I'll charge you $20 just to do some basic troubleshooting. Something silly like that. And, Apple has been, they put just out pretty consistent technology. Maybe they haven't been leaping forward too much lately, but it's been consistent. I'm rather pleased with my Apple products. Of course, I don't own an iPhone, iPad, or iMac. I got a Mac Mini that I spilled soda on, and the only thing it did was mess up the CD drive. The rest of the machine runs fine. And that's where I'm really at, is that we need more machines that are built to take some BS. And Microsoft, they make more money by the fact that people make these mistakes. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you shouldn't make those stupid mistakes. Well, yes and no. You shouldn't, but you do. And any machine can be messed up by them, yes. But, there needs to be things like, I saw a device that made it where if it detects water, it stands up. I mean, that's just awesome. There's just so many things you just gotta think about when it comes to computers and stuff. We need reactive. We need to be idiot proof. Apple's the only one that seems to want to do that. And yeah, there's all those ads about that, and the Windows phone they're trying to say is like the best phone you can get. And I go, yeah, right. If it runs anything like a Windows PC, I wouldn't want to give it any kind of power over my life. I wouldn't want it to be, I wouldn't give it my information. I wouldn't want to have any of that. You know why? Because it will crash. It will crash just like a PC. And a lot of people don't like Windows 8. And some comments have been like, oh, well, that's unfounded. Maybe. Except for people who've known the companies business practices for years. So yeah, I will never get an Xbox One. I mean, I admit that I can admit that the Xbox franchise is a pretty dang good setup. They put in some pretty kick-ass chipsets and whatnot, and it can handle some pretty cool stuff. But at the same time, we've gotten to a point in technology where it is all about the programming now. You know, we're not the Xbox is Xbox One is going to be a system, and I urge anyone who hears this, if you're planning to get one, you better make sure you have a friend who can crack that thing wide open and just take out all the unnecessary BS that's in there. Mainly, make it where it's not going to send your facial expressions or, be able to send any video without your permission elsewhere. And by that I mean the automatic stuff of it always listening. I mean, you can't have that system in your home, because here's what I think is going to happen. It's going to create a whole lot of illegal activity coming out of Microsoft. And by that I mean this is what the government is going to start seeing when that comes out finally. You're going to have it where someone's going to hack into that thing, and they're going to decide to put out take some video off it. Like, oh hey, I can take video off this. So someone's going to hack into Microsoft, probably find a way to get some video, and they're going to scour through it. Maybe even use technology that probably is in the Xbox One, which is, age and whatever technology to tell you how old the person is. And then they're basically going to find out where there's a house with children, little boys, little girls, whatnot. And they're going to find a way to pull data, video data, from those systems. They'll probably even try to create their own backdoor to those specific systems. Well, all of a sudden, they're pulling video, and they're just waiting for a little boy to run around naked or something, or a little girl run around naked, or something like, hey, this boy lives with this boy and girl live there, and hey, at some point maybe one of them will run around naked in the living room, and hey, we got ourselves child porn, and illegally obtained. And just think about that. If you have kids, or you might have kids, or some kids that you don't want to see any weird ass crap happen to, I think I covered everyone on the planet, I would hope. And suddenly, you get an Xbox One, or their family gets an Xbox One. What happens? I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm saying it's a distinct possibility. And let's not forget about the fact that a lot of the games that the Xbox has been used for is creating military-based games. And I know a lot of people are kind of like, well, those aren't. That's neither here nor there. The fact is that it's there. And a lot of those people who enjoy those military games are members of the military. And this kind of, blatant, always having to be online, I mean, they're saying it's not, but it's going to take whatever opportunity it can to be online. And whenever it is online, it sends off a bucket load of information, probably. And when it happens, information may even have stuff that compromises national security of those soldiers. It might just compromise it altogether. So it could be a blatant security risk for everybody who even thinks about getting the system. Because all of a sudden, you're sitting around and you just realized, you may have been like in front of your Xbox, and the CEO comes in and tells you, oh, you're going on a secret mission. And like, all right, let's go. And your Xbox heard the whole damn thing. And that information is there in a private company. That thing connects to the internet. That information gets shot all over the web. Or it could be shot to the wrong people. I mean, it doesn't take much. We're talking about, major security. Or it could be like, hey, we know that this one guy bought his kid an Xbox, and we have some, his company is a competitor of ours, and his son has an Xbox. We want to put these keywords into this Xbox, so whenever it does that, it sends us a tape of whatever conversation has these keywords in it. And, this would be like, the kid's playing, he's not even, he may be watching a movie, and they're talking about, well, oh yeah, we're going to be building this. Like, oh, that's cool, Dad. And, they're watching a movie, and the Xbox isn't even being used directly. It's, it's in that standby mode. All of a sudden, some vital information just got lost. Got sent to their competition, because the guy bought his kid a Xbox One. We're talking about some major issues that, you're going to need to, if you get an Xbox One, you're going to need to be aware. You need to unplug the damn thing if there's going to be a slight chance that something sensitive like military or company stuff can get released. Because, you might even find some employee at Microsoft who figures out, hey, I know who this person is, and we can just use this to, blackmail them or something like that. It's an incredibly giant hole in security just by having this device on. Because it's already programmed to do it. It's being planned to use for, business, for advertisement. To try to, figure out how can we best sell things to you. And, hey, I mean, I'm not saying, that kind of business shouldn't be done, but it doesn't need to be, something where you're compromising someone's privacy of their own home. I mean, the thing is, this thing can end up creating a situation where child porn gets created without even the kid realizing it happened. Not having a clue, only the fact that there's Xboxes there. It could create embarrassing videos, blackmailers who get access to the information. Anyone. It's a crapshoot. And I never trusted Microsoft, and the idea of them, doing that. Heck, I would be nervous now if I was to walk by a store display with the Xbox One. Or being in a store with an Xbox One. Because I don't know its capability to sort out data and audio, but if it has any form of that, it's going to hear my conversations, and it can put it anywhere it wants. And, they could use that as a little tool to spy on all kinds of people. And they probably do. And the fact is that it can it knows how to pick up keywords is another problem. It's a very advanced bit of technology that communicates to people elsewhere. It's Big Brother that you pay for. And, I mean, that's just messed up. Uh-oh. I hate when it happens. Okay. But I digress. Like, so, I mean, if anyone's really surprised, I mean, come on. And I'm kind of with Alpha Omega Sin on the concept of how do you defend this? This is a technology that is going to be easy for them to abuse in so many incredibly devastating ways. They're going to be able to abuse it like in a ridiculous amount of things. You know, they'll be able to, you know, get into a guy who talks business on his phone at home. He may not even realize his son has an Xbox One, and all of a sudden, everything he just said in earshot of that device has become compromised. It is a remarkable security risk. Not only is it dangerous for the people who are, you know, living, you know, for the people around, it's dangerous for anyone else who, you know, who has anything that could be used. Or it could be used simply, you know, I mentioned the mob, I mentioned all these different things. And that's it. I mean, I urge everyone to, you don't bring that thing into your house until someone's come in and cracked that thing wide open, gotten rid of all the malicious programming put in there by Microsoft. That until you do that, don't put it in your house. I mean, straight up, don't put it in your house until you get rid of all that malicious programming. And, you know, you might be thinking, well, it's not so bad. Right. But think about this. You have a friend, you know, you have any kind of friend. Or hell. You know, they could do stuff like, hey, man, we're going to blackmail you for using weed or something. That's all the things they can do to mess with you. And, you know, it's you want to have your entire, you know, I don't do drugs, for those who don't know. I'm crazy enough as is, I don't need any chemicals messing me up anymore. But when you think about what is going on here, you know, they go like, hey, your friend just put music on your computer from a CD he owns and he took the CD with him. Or something like that. It's like, what are they going to do with this information? They got it all. They got all this information about you. And there's not a thing you can really do or say. They're just, they're going to get all this information from every person that buys it. And I hope the U.S. government will turn around and say no soldier shall own an Xbox One without it being properly modified by government employees or something like that. You know, basically have someone come in there and go, all right, this is all deactivated and whatnot. You know, it has to be hacked in order for it to be safe to be used by our armed forces. I very much believe that. And if Microsoft doesn't like it, don't put stuff in that makes it where, it's a security risk to our soldiers. Because I'm going to say this, they like a lot of games that come out on the Xbox. And I'm terrified, straight up terrified, that this is going to be used by people with less than positive feelings towards America to, come in and just screw us. Like, hey, you got a bunch of soldiers playing these games. Well, because they're playing these games, we're able to find where the hell they are and, make them lose their lives because they enjoy these games. And, I don't know if that's possible now, but sure as hell going to be possible with the Xbox One, because, Microsoft isn't known for making hack-proof technology. So, I'm just saying it. I don't trust Microsoft enough to let them have access to that kind of information. And I sure as hell wouldn't want, any government official having an Xbox One. Because it's just going to go, it could be used against us in so many ways. Privileged information, top secret stuff could be leaked through the Xbox One. It is a major national security risk if anybody working in the government gets a hold of one and uses it. So maybe Microsoft needs to be given the threat of treason, being arrested for treason, and maybe they'll stop trying to use this kind of crap. I don't trust them. I don't trust them with it, and I don't think anyone really should. Or have to, even. That's the biggest thing. We shouldn't have to trust that a game company isn't going to leak what happens inside our houses. We shouldn't have to trust them with that. And that's a major point right there. We shouldn't have to trust that they're not going to, I've been given priority information, and if I had an Xbox One and the right people knew I had it, I could have been talking to my friend or my dad or someone about what's been happening, with my job. And it's not like national security, but it could cause a whole lot of trouble. But sometimes, we get information in ways that we aren't, no one knows we do, and if they knew we were getting it, people would bitch and complain about it. And that's the thing I'm most annoyed about. And I don't want to see us get ourselves in any kind of form of trouble like that. And, it would really hinder my ability to do my job if suddenly everything they tell me gets leaked. And I will probably lose my job. And why would I lose my job? Because I own an Xbox One. And I'm not going to buy one, but every person who has something that I'm not saying it's illegally, no, but something that they don't need to have put onto the internet needs to look at this and go, Microsoft, I don't want your system. I don't want it. I don't need it. And every game company, especially those who are putting games out that are military based, please think about this. They are using our own, they could be opening up major roads of data flowing that should be protected. I mean, even the fact that it's flowing could have enemy hackers go, oh, hey, this is some information we could use. soldiers talking about things that, you know, they're just in the same room together using a device. So, you companies, don't even make your soldiers want to get the, companies that put out like Gears of War, Modern Warfare, etc., etc., Brothers in Arms or in Blood, all those games, all the military-based games. Call of Duty, that was the one I'm forgetting. Call of Duty, all those games, all the companies that make these games need to think and go, okay, we can't put our games on a system. We don't want to put anything, especially just on the Xbox One, but definitely you don't want to put you want to put majority of your military games on a system that doesn't compromise national security. That isn't going to be a giant hole in national security and intelligence. So I guess I'm pleading to everyone who makes these decisions. Don't, if you want to, have videos of you leaked online at some point, if you're okay with that, get an Xbox One. If you're not, don't. But if you're a soldier, don't get an Xbox One, period. If you're part of the government in any form, and you have any priority, any top secret information given to you, don't get an Xbox One. You just don't do it, or you could kill. All that information could be leaked to the wrong people. Anything happening in your house that you have an Xbox One plugged in could be leaked, could be dangerous. So that is my spiel on it. That is my concept. It's not, hey, they're violating my rights, and they are. I mean, they really are. The fact is, I shouldn't have to worry about even walking by a store display and get, completely spied on. But, any soldier who goes out there and wants to play some of the games like Call of Duty or something, and they get the Xbox One version, I mean, he could be endangering everyone else that sees it. If Ben Heckendorf creates another combo drive, I sure as hell hope he takes the Kinect thing off. It takes out the voice command. And if he does another, suitcase game system for soldiers. Because if he doesn't, he's giving a walking security breach to these people. And that's not cool. So, yeah, I'm going to say it. Microsoft, you're putting us in a lot more danger than you think. Yeah, you can get quite a bit of information, but the type of information you can get can be used in so many unwholesome ways. Creation of child porn is one of them. Compromising the safety of U.S. citizens and soldiers is another. And you can promise up and down all you want that it won't be used that way, but it's going to get used for blackmail probably. Someone's going to see something and they're going to use it, and they're going to keep it on that keep it secret how they found it. And people will search the home for bugs and bugs and bugs, and they may never find it until they realize the Xbox One is doing it. And Microsoft, then you're going to have some major stuff to answer to. And the fact that you can change it on a whim, no. I think at this point, since you have the programming stuff built into it, and the capability of doing this, I think it's about time. I wouldn't trust you guys to update my system. I think I think Microsoft's ability to make computer systems for government projects or anything needs to be called into question now, because there isn't a single concept that anyone can say here that's going to make me go, oh, we're safer because of this. They're going to destabilize our national security. So that is my feeling on it, and maybe I'm overreacting, but the thing is, what they're doing is real. This can happen. It is a hole in security of our homes. The wrong people get the information they're collecting, we're screwed. And, we're not even, giving, we don't really have much of a choice except not to buy the system. So, if you value your family, your privacy, your children not to be ogled after by perverts, skip the Xbox One. And honestly, if they're doing that to their game system, think about that Windows machine you probably have in your room too. Does it have a webcam? It's a scary thought, but it's more real than anyone really wants to believe.